Because there's no guarantee.
Her book is coming out in the
book
fall,
is coming,
by the way.
yes,
so
my
that's why she hasn't been here, because she's been working on her book of Hey everybody, it's the Doll Circle. We've got Robin. And we have a Doll Circle Facebook group. So if you guys are not a part of that, please go Google it, look it up, go on Facebook, find it, ask to join. And we've had some people on there actually mention that they miss Robin. So we're doing a doll chat. We're doing a doll chat where we were talking to Robin today. Just kind of seeing like...
It's about my favorite subject, me.
I know. Yes, it's true. And I like how you have glitter on you still from the Rainbow High reviews that we've done. So we have a lot of reviews with Robin coming out soon. It's like I get someone in town or get someone at the house and I'm like, guess what you're doing? It's like Claudina was here, 1 million reviews. You're here, 1 million reviews. It's like I'm using people when they come to my house. So
that's all I'm good for.
Hey, you're really good at it though. It was really fun to see your excitement from like Rainbow High and other dolls since you haven't been buying a lot of dolls.
Yes.
So I think what's on maybe a lot of people's minds, because one of our last videos was you getting out of collecting, and it's been a while. So how are you now outside of the collecting world? Like, how do you miss it? Do you want to go back? Do you still dabble in it? Like, how do you feel being outside of the collecting world?
Well, I definitely dabble. Don't like go out hunting for dolls or anything anymore. Like, I don't feel anything, not that they're not worth collecting, but nothing sparks joy enough for me to buy it, spend money on it, and then like have it in my house. I guess I'm like, I think I said before, like very minimalist now, where it's like something has to have a value to me or like a use. I hate having just random stuff in my house that is just sitting there. Like, I don't have a junk drawer of just random stuff. I'm so proud of that, because I feel like, you know, you have to, every item in your house you have to like think about, clean, care about. It takes up space. Even if you don't think about it or it's in a drawer, it's still there. So same with like, that's kind of one of the reasons I got dolls. Like some of there's so many dolls, and like I give like...
Did you feel that the doll world was overwhelming at the time?
It was very overwhelming. I had a lot of personal things that was overwhelming. So one thing I could take care of was like these dolls, and I felt I give personality to inanimate objects. I felt like, oh, I can't appreciate all these dolls and they're sad, so let me give them to... I gave a lot away to like little girls who were like in heaven, like the look on their face when you just hear all these dolls. Oh yeah, it's like
Christmas and the randomly.
Exactly.
You know?
It's like that made their day, and that gives them, they had a new life, a new value. And my house is a lot like less cluttered, so I do have like obviously like Draculaurs that meant something to me, like our first Draculaurs we got together.
Skating dolls.
Skating. I like ones, like I love the new LOL skate, like I love roller skating, so like any doll that has like skating I'll usually buy. I feel like I have the Frankie Monster High one that skated from back in the day, the LOL one. There's a couple others that have come out that I
feel like if I like review something, or if you happen to see it and then that kind of motivates you to buy it, I'm like,
exactly.
Well, yes. Which is good though, because that means my reviews are working.
Exactly.
But no, like that I'm the kind of the same way too. Like also, that's why I'm scrolling on Instagram and having like a lot of like doll friends is kind of almost like a enabling system for me, because like I see it and I'm like, oh, I want all of these now. Yes. Like, so see, it's good though that like you're able to find a balance in still wanting some dolls and having a few dolls, but just being very, very, very selective and particular about what you're buying.
No, don't get me wrong. There's times where I'm like, I'll buy something and it doesn't, like, was it Wild Hearts?
The Wild Hearts crew one.
I bought the roller skating one. I never even took it out of the box, so I ended up giving it to a little girl who actually loved it, and not that I didn't like it, just like
it didn't bring as much happiness.
Joy. Yes, something that has to spark joy. And I will say, collecting, like, it was fun to like, the hunt is funner than actually owning the item sometimes. You know what I mean?
I get that. Like, to me, like, I like hunting, especially when I'm like with like friends or, you know, especially, you know, or other doll people, because then you're like, oh, it's something you guys do together. Exactly. So I get that too. For me though, obviously I still love dolls, and well, if you guys could see the other side of this camera, clearly I'm not collecting. Yes. Is there anything that you are collecting now that you're not collecting dolls? Because I know you're still obviously really into planners. We did our planner videos a lot and stuff. So are you still, do you think, would you consider that your collecting item?
No, because same thing with that is whereas like I do have a tendency where I'll buy like you can only use so many planners or one planner usually.
Yeah.
I do overbuy that and then I end up giving a lot of that stuff away or selling it or whatever. So I try even with that to just
I get
we have the
stickers.
same stuff we just go back and forth with.
Yes.
I have a lot of things where it's like I really just want to appreciate one item of a certain thing or like small amount of items, say like obviously more than $1, more than one like sticker for a planner or whatever, but I just really I want to like I said, I give up like feelings like I'm like this stand, this is my stand, I want to appreciate it. I don't want to have 20 other stands that are not being appreciated. I know that sounds weird when talking about inanimate objects, but
no, like that's why it's hard for me when I go through to sell stuff. I'm always like looking at them and I'm like, they're looking at me, you know, and it's hard to let a lot of items go because
they have eyes.
I especially the things that have eyes, you know, I mean, like I have a lot of stuff that don't have eyes, but it's like, yeah, no, I get that, and then that's why I think people who especially do collect toys, dolls, and things like that is that they are characters, and some even resemble real people, so they give you that like attachment feeling.
Right, so, and also it's like, when you move, you have to package it all up, you have to carry, like, I hate moving in general, and then think that I had, like, I used to have cases and cases, as I'm looking at your cases and cases, I'm like,
I almost bought another case, but they were sold out at IKEA.
I never want to move all this stuff, and like I said, there's a doll in the back of the case that just isn't getting that, like, appreciation and the connection, and it's, you know, like some other person could appreciate her or them, whatever the item is.
I'm lucky that I haven't had to move in 6 years. So,
right, and obviously are like
hoarder moment. No, I'm kidding.
Not saying like, oh, if you collect dolls that you're wrong or bad. It's just like
it's just my
personal.
You have to be
feelings.
settled. I feel like to have an extensive collection, especially like where mine's getting again because I sold like 2/3 of mine at one point and now it's all back. It does become overwhelming, and if you're not settled, it gives you almost extra anxiety because then you're like, well, I love all this stuff and I don't want to let go of all this stuff, but I have to move all this stuff, and then it's just adding extra anxiety that you don't really need,
right.
you know.
And you don't want to have it in storage, like I mean, you could, like, I just knew I was at a place where I'm like, not that I'm like super zen nirvana, but I'm like, you don't want to be attached to something that if you lost it for some reason, like fire, stolen, I don't know, you just don't have anymore, that inanimate object would like ruin your day, your life. Like, obviously, I'm bummed that my Draculaura isn't with me, but it's just a doll or just an item. Yeah. I'm very like I will say though, besides the roller skating dolls, I have like a few of the doll that has like brought me the most joy is I watched a video from Trix Mattel reviewing the 90s Barbies, the 1990 holiday Barbie. I actually did
purchase from Davy's Toys in Longwood.
Thank you, my connection.
I'm plugging.
She's like, you got it, purchase. I took her out of the box. I know that she's like over 30 years old, but I took her out of the box and it's great, and she is stunning, and
it just makes you appreciate 90s Barbies more when you see a doll like that where the dress is elaborate and the hair is
the packaging
flowing
was elaborate.
And like,
she came with that like 8x10 like picture of herself, and then her hairbrush, the little hairbrush came with it. I used I put it in my purse, and I used it as a hairbrush because it goes. I have a lot of hair. It goes through my hair. That's how like detailed those were, and I love that Barbie. Like come home and I look at her, I'm like, that's amazing. If I ever, get married again, that's my wedding dress. I've decided, that big pink puffy dress. Like, I love it because I don't have so many other things keeping my attention. So like, look at her, I'm like,
it stands out.
Yes.
It doesn't get lost in the sea of items that sometimes us in the collecting world we get is just like so many items,
And like, when my height of my collecting like 3-4 years ago was like, if it existed, I bought it. And that's not wrong by any means, but I was not in a place where I should have been doing that. And it's like, yes. And I have also like a lot of blind bag things came out, and I'm just not into that. Like, I want to know what I'm getting. Like, I want doll.
Yeah, I feel like that helped business wise because some collectors were just like buying all the blind stuff, but it's overwhelming because then you're buying all of those surprise toys. So it's like, for me too, I kind of had a X-nay on that. Like I still do with the LOL stuff just because that's the one thing I really like. But everything else though, unless I can see something, I'm trying not to buy stuff that I can't see anymore.
Or like if it doesn't spark joy, like, not to Marie Kondo at all, but it's almost like things should spark joy if you have them in your house, because as silly as it seems, that is like taking up space, it's taking up energy. You have to just like, even if it's like something you don't see, it's in a closet, like it's there. Things are there. And that, to me, I was just like, the less stuff I own, the better. The less you have to move, the less you have to be worried about, the less you're attached to.
Yeah.
It's getting real weird.
No, that's true. I mean, that's a big thing though, because we always talk about like collecting, and like obviously like on Instagram and all these other videos, people are always like, oh, what we're buying and stuff like that. But there's also the other side of it is people getting out of collecting or wanting to get out of collecting or wanting to know that it's okay to get out of collecting. Because I think some people they feel almost like a guilt when you buy the stuff, and then a guilt when you get rid of the stuff. And to me, like, it's really hard. Well, but I've been doing good though. You know what I've been doing now though? Like now I'm almost like said of like kind of like, okay, so I collect sloth mugs. So what I do for
sloth everything.
No, but particularly sloth mugs. I'm very particular about the mugs. So the way that I had to cut it back was if it's not dishwasher safe, I don't buy it.
And a lot of those mugs are not, because they're just ceramic.
Yeah, because they're just ceramic cheap ones. So it's like okay to not collect everything, or it's okay to like tell yourself, like, unless it's a roller skating doll that I love, I'm not going to buy it. Right, you have to set up rules for yourself.
Has
almost.
A purpose. Like, there's a lot of Sailor Moon stuff that I had that is functional, but obviously, like, oh, you can't use it because it's Sailor Moon. It's collectible, which is true, and that's fine. But I was like, I'm going to use this little jar to put things in that has Sailor Venus on it because it's functional. And then I can justify to myself that...
Still owning it.
Still owning it because it has a function, not just sitting on the shelf collecting dust. Yeah. Also, like you were saying about like the guilt of like you bought all this, you spent money and all this time with these things, and you don't, even when you resell them, you probably don't get anywhere near what you spent, unless it's something like really, like when I sold a bunch of Monster High and Never After dolls, I made a few $100, but if you add up all the money I spent on it, small, right? Which is fine. That's fine. They served a purpose of joy in my life, and I'm okay not making that money back. But it's almost like, it's actually I found it very freeing when I let go of all of it.
Yeah. No, I'm doing a yard sale this week, so we've been like letting a lot of stuff go, and I was surprised because I have like a lot of stuffed animals, and I'm more into dolls than I am into stuffed animals, obviously. So what I'm doing now is like, you know what? Stuffed animals have to go. So I let go of like half my stuffed animals, which she ended up taking some of them. So
they're squishmallows, they're functional, they're pillows. It's okay.
And the Mama Shaba. But see, that sparked her happiness.
That's
so
a memory.
She was okay,
yes, it's a memory of.
So it goes. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where it's like, for me, it's like you have to set up rules for yourself and find yourself in a happier place. And right now, I'm happy collecting dolls, and you're happy, being selective about what you're collecting.
And your rules don't have to be the same as anyone else's rules. So, like, I would never go to Elvira and be like, you have too much stuff. Like, this is the reason for all your problems.
Intervention episode next week. No way.
The banner falls down. No, that's not the place in life she's at, and it's not something like.
Which I've got rid of a lot of stuff.
She has, and I'm very surprised. Joy. So there's no like measure of like, oh, I have 4 dolls and this person has 400. Like, there's no measure to compare.
Do you feel like you're a natural collector? Because I feel like I am too, because like I'm going through like my dance costumes. I let a lot of costumes go recently. So it's like, I was like, I'm done collecting that, but I'm still collecting something, which is dolls, and so it's like, I feel like I'm always going to be collecting something, sloth stuff or like goth things. So I'm always, that's my type of personality trait. So even if I was to like wake up tomorrow and all the dolls were gone, I feel like I would still collect something, because that's just how I am naturally. Do you find yourself still naturally as a collector, even though you're not actively collecting one particular thing? Do you still feel like you have that trait in you? Like, I do, because it's like a conversation with myself. Any item I buy, even if it's not a collecting, I'm like, what is the purpose of this item for me? Is it just to spend money because you're bored and you want to spend money? Is this doll or item like is something that makes you happy, like sentimental? That's fine too. Or like, so it is like, I don't want to say struggle, but it is like a thing I have to actively just be like mindful about. Like, I don't want to buy a doll and it just sits in a box. Yeah. Because I just, it didn't mean enough to me to like rip the box open and take it out. Whereas like that Barbie, I like make sure that I would suggest, you could do whatever you want, not make sure, but I would suggest that you collect for the joy it brings you, and not just because it's something that could be valuable, because there are lots of people who, not you, but like people we know who bought Barbies back in the day
thousands of dollars of Barbie and they are worth nothing.
Oh yeah, so make sure to always like buy something that you like. That's what I always tell people is like everything I'm buying is something I like looking at and not necessarily for resale because that's another thing.
Because there's no guarantee.
Her book is coming out in the fall, by the way. Yes, so that's why she hasn't been here, because she's been working on her book of not collecting and finding yourself and being able to
well, I'm just saying,
move over, Marie.
There's no guarantee anything is worth anything. So,
and do you feel like with all of this change, do you feel happier with that part? I mean, obviously, your life, everybody's lives are very different behind the camera. But do you feel happier in the sense of dolls, collecting, having
every
items,
doll I have, I know I have it. If that makes sense, because I have dolls, I'm like, oh yeah, I have this one because it's in the corner. I know I have, and it sparks joy. It has a value to me. It has a memory. Usually, it's always a memory, like our first Draculaura or the Barbie. Like, it has a memory. I watched a video. I liked it. You made it happen for me. Thanks, baby.
Yeah, I know.
Has like something I can associate a person, a memory, or a feeling with.
Yeah. That's good. That's very good sage advice. If you guys have other questions for Robin or want to talk to her in general, definitely post up in the Facebook group or on Instagram. And obviously she sees the Instagram, so we can all like chit chat about that. And then we'll do more doll chat episodes because I know a lot of you guys have been wanting more doll chats. So in the comments, we want to see what you guys want to hear us talk about in general. I mean, it could be, we don't have to just talk about doll topics on the doll chat episodes. Could be other things, like if you guys want to know about. But yeah, I want to hear more ideas from you guys about wanting to see new doll chat episodes. And like I said, check us out: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those things, Snapchats and Patreon and all those joyous things. Bye guys.